Okay, Oli, welcome to my YouTube channel. So in this video, we are going to talk about life of a pilot. So you can introduce your name and where you work as a pilot and the experience that you have.
Okay, yeah. My name's Ollie, and I work in the UK, flying European short-haul routes, flying the Boeing 737. I've been Birmingham-based for the last few years. When I go back to the UK, I'm actually going to be Edinburgh-based, the capital of Scotland.
Okay.
So a base change.
Okay. So what does it take to be a pilot?
Qualification-wise, you mean, rather than personality? There's two ways of doing it. You could do what's called an integrated course, where it's like full-time. We call it zero to hero in the UK.
Yes.
Or you can do a modular route, where you do each block of training individually, which is the way I did it. I guess it's about 50-50 which route people choose. The integrated route is more expensive.
Yeah.
It's probably about 20 million shillings. I would have thought at least now to go from zero to the point where you're walking into work, you know, certainly flying a jet anyway.
Okay.
So the way I did it was I did my private pilot's license, which took me maybe 9 or 10 months on a part-time basis.
Yes.
And that allows you to fly just a single engine aeroplane, the little ones that you see flying about. And it allows you to fly in good weather because you have to be able to see out of the window to see what you're doing. Okay, the next stage after that is usually what we call like an hour building phase, where you're gaining experience, because at that point when you get that license, you've probably only got about 50 flying hours experience, all with a flying instructor.
Okay.
So then you need to build your hours up, you know, flying in the left-hand seat. And then when you've got about 150 hours, then you would probably do the theory course for the ATPL. Yeah. This is the Airline Transport Pilot's License. And that's quite difficult. I did a full-time course of study for that.
How long did it?
That was a 6-month course, and it was very intensive. It was like trying to take a drink from a fire hydrant. You know, they're just firing new stuff at you every day, and then every night you're doing hours of study. And the weekends as well. It's really intense. Okay. So you do that, and then you sit 14 exams, and you are limited with the number of attempts you can have at any one paper.
How many attempts?
I think it's 3 or 4, and it's a long time since I've done this. It's 3 or 4, and then you're also limited by how many visits to the exam centre you can have in total. So you can run out of both things, you know. But hopefully we can get to that stage. So you do the theory exams, and then you can do what's called the commercial pilot's license course.
How long does that take?
I did it. It took me maybe 5 weeks, full time. And then when you've got that, you've got a commercial pilot's license, but you can still only fly single engine aeroplanes in good weather. In good weather. So you have what's called a commercial license, but actually it's no use to you because you've got to add on some very expensive things. So you need a multi-engine rating. So that's usually the next one that you would add. And that is much more expensive to train than the single engine flying. It's not double the cost. It's much, much more than double, even though you're only getting one extra engine. So you would add on the multi-engine rating. This now allows you to fly a multi-engine aircraft, small one, in good weather.
Still in good
weather.
But
good weather is useless to a pilot. To fly in bad weather, where you can fly without any external references, without seeing anything out of the window, you need what's called an instrument rating. So this is an expensive intense training course, which is done on a mixture of simulator and that same multi-engine aircraft that you've already been flying in good weather. Now you're flying it with screens up in front of you, so you cannot see out of the window. And then in the last 200 feet before the runway, the examiner is going to open up like a letterbox, or your instructor to start with. He's going to open up like a little letterbox on your screen so that you can see enough to land. Yeah? Then you are tested. You do the instrument rating skill test, which is arguably the most demanding flying test that a pilot will do. If you ask them what is the most difficult test you can do, it's your initial multi-engine instrument rating. Now it has to be renewed or revalidated every year. Every 12 months you have to do that test again. But they never seem as difficult as that first one. So you get your instrument rating, and you now have what's called a CPL / instrument rating, which is often referred to as a frozen ATPL, because you've now got the bare bones of what you need to apply for a job. You still have to add another course on, which is called a multi-crew cooperation course, which is getting you into the basic philosophy of operating in a two-pilot environment, because the aircraft that you've been flying prior to that have all been single crew. This means that the aircraft can be legally flown with just one pilot. But to move into commercial operations and public transport, airline flying, those aeroplanes will all be multi-crew aircraft. And therefore you need a multi-crew cooperation course. Luckily, there's no pass or fail element with that course. So that's a fairly easy and affordable add-on onto the license. At that point, you could now apply for jobs.
So from the single one to how many years?
If you do that course full time, you could probably do that maybe in 18 months, even less. If you do it like I did, where you're saving up, you're going to do another module. Then, I started September 99 and I got my commercial license issued in May 2003. So, 3.5 years, which is okay.
Okay. You said it's affordable for...
No, I've never said flying training is affordable. It's not affordable. I wouldn't say it's affordable. It's about 20 million shillings in today's money to go from zero to commercial. Now in Kenya, you see, I don't really know the Kenyan licensing system because I don't fly in Kenya and I've never looked into it. But maybe you can do it for less money in Kenya and get yourself a Kenyan license. I only really know the UK system.
The best school to study in, or the best aviation in the UK?
I used to work at a place called Oxford Aviation Academy in Oxford, and that was regarded as one of the best places in the world to train. I was a flight instructor there for a few years. That was a good place. Nowadays, I'm not sure where the best place is to try, but the big integrated schools where they offer the integrated courses, they tend to give you the best job prospects, I think, if you're coming out with a license from there.
Okay. So what are the challenges of being a pilot?
You have to be very disciplined. You have to be very organized with your time. You have to, you can't really turn up for work and have bad days. You have to have that constant, almost a thirst for learning the new procedures. Things are always changing. Nothing stays the same. I have the company iPad here, and they'll be, you were asking me about this, and I still look at it when I'm on holiday. Yeah, you have to, because there's always new company rules coming in. There's always changes at airports that we fly to that are coming in. There's changes with the airplane that I fly. So, excuse me, you have to keep abreast of all this stuff. So you have to have that kind of personality that disciplined kind of personality that will keep on top of everything. It's not the kind of job where you can come in and just drift by, you know?
Yes. And as a human being, apart from work life, what are the challenges of being a pilot?
I think you have to be able to evaluate information, critically evaluate the information, come up with plan A. We usually come up with a plan A, a plan B, and even a plan C. You know, what are we going to do in this scenario now that something has gone wrong? Airline flying, when things are going great, when everything's running smoothly, it's kind of, it's not that difficult. But you really earn your money when things start to go wrong. Yeah.
And the beauty of being a pilot?
It's a very satisfying job to do. To go out and you do a good day's work, you feel that. You know, sometimes when I come back, I've been out somewhere and I come back and I'm driving home and I can feel, yeah, you know, today was really good. I managed that descent really well. The energy of the aircraft, you know, flew a nice approach. I'm not saying it happens all the time, but when it does happen, you know, you feel it and you feel the satisfaction. You know you're doing something quite special, quite unusual. People will pay to do my job. People will pay to have an experience day, to fly a simulator. You know, some guy that works in a factory maybe or something like that, he'll pay to have a 1 hour in a simulator, to fly the same aircraft that I fly along the same routes that I fly, and you know, he'll look forward to it all week, and that's maybe the closest they'll ever get to doing it. So to be able to do that is quite a privilege, I think. You know, it is a very enjoyable job.
Okay. The best day maybe you remember being a pilot was that day.
Look, you know, my best day lately, I had a lovely day. We flew to Venice and I switched my phone on and I knew Marion had her scan that day for the baby. And I said, look, I've got this tiny slot where I'm going to be able to phone you when I'm on the ground in Venice. Please have your phone with you. And I said, I don't want you to joke with me about the gender of the baby. I just want you to be straight with me. So I phoned her up. She answered. Have you been for your scan? Yes. Do you know what we're having? Yeah. What is it? Go. Oh, that was a fantastic day. It's not just the operating the machinery. You know, it was a lovely day anyway. Everything went really nicely. Great, gorgeous day in Venice. And then I found out we're having a little girl. So that day, and I was flying with a great guy as well. And that day stands out as being a particularly good one lately.
Yes, and that one worst day, you felt like, wow, I messed up here.
In my very early days, when I was hour building in a single engine aircraft up in Scotland, and I'd taken a friend up flying, and we'd flown to a place called Oban, and then flying back to Fife Airport, the weather turned really bad, and oh God, it was just awful trying to dodge the cloud, because at that point I wasn't licensed to fly into the cloud. I wouldn't have known what I was doing. The aircraft was not certified to be in cloud anyway. It's the last place you'd want to be. But my friend, bless him, he was so good at helping. He had the map and helping me. He was not a pilot. He was a flight dispatcher, worked on the ground. But that day, coming back and just seeing the runway in Fife, I probably had maybe 150 flying hours at that point. Not a lot, but to see that runway and just oh God, thank God for that, because the weather can really change quickly. You know,
What's the worst case in case weather changes?
One of the worst things for us is something got a phenomenon called wind shear, which is where you've got like a stark change in direction and speed of the wind. And a few months ago, flying into Tenerife, we had to do a wind shear go around.
What does that mean?
That means that the aircraft is telling you that you can no longer continue the approach down to the runway. The weather is so bad. So it will tell you that you have to go around and make another attempt. So, you know, we got bounced around all over the place. It happens, you know, it happens. So that's something, wind shear, Thunderstorms, those are things that you kind of want to avoid if you can. Yeah.
Oh, amazing. And what advice do you have for young men who will be watching this video and they're aspiring to be pilots?
If there's any way of getting involved with this stuff without forking out huge amounts of money, let's say there's air cadets, or there's some kind of job on the ground at the airport, or you could even join the Air Force or something like that, I would say get immersed in something like that, even if it's not directly flying related. If it's something at an airport, even if you're working on a checkout, a check-in desk, or you work as cabin crew, even something like that, I would say try and get immersed in the environment, doing something non-flying related, but still connected with aviation, because you're going to put yourself in a position where opportunities are more likely to favour you than somebody who is totally outside the business and perhaps working in a accountancy or something like that. You know.
And do you consider maybe training in aviation or training people later in life?
Me? Well, I've done lots of training of pilots as a flight instructor. I've done lots of that. My next thing, I'm working on something for the Army, aviation related, which I won't go into detail, but I think it will be fantastic for the Army if it happens. That is something that I'm working on at the moment, which is a bit more of a fun. It's nothing to do with scheduled passenger services or anything like that. Something fairly basic, but so much fun, a much purer form of flying. So that's kind of the stuff that interests me now.
Okay. So how is job opportunities in, when you're from aviation, maybe as a pilot?
Good. In Europe at the moment it's good. The demand for pilots is high. Salaries are increasing. I'd say at the moment we're maybe I shouldn't say it, but I feel like we're approaching perhaps a golden age of airline recruitment and airline terms and conditions. I think my terms and conditions are quite good. I can't complain.
So in the aviation industry, there's a captain and pilot. What's the difference?
So the captain has overall legal responsibility for the flight.
Okay.
Yeah.
And pilot?
You normally have a first officer or senior first officer in the right-hand seat. So, and then for each sector, one of you, and a sector is just a flight to somewhere, one of you is designated as pilot flying and one of you is pilot monitoring, and you would usually take it in turns. So the guy doing the flying will go, operates the aircraft, manipulates the controls, and the person that's pilot monitoring will work the radio and keep the paperwork up to date, the flight log, that kind of thing.
So it's a collaboration.
It's always a multi-crew operation.
Amazing. The co-pilot is the same as the
yes, the same. No. Co-pilot sits in the right-hand seat, captain sits in the left, usually.
Okay. Please tell us, how is your life in a day as a pilot?
Okay. So if we start from, let's say I have a report time 5:30 in the morning.
Yes.
I'd usually be in the crew room slightly early, maybe 5:25, something like that. And I'd be that regimented about it. You need to be strict with your rest as well, because sometimes you could be on minimum rest between duties. So you've not got a lot of time at home to sleep. So I'd probably be in just a few minutes early. We'd get the paperwork organised.
Yeah.
We will meet with the crew, discuss the route we're going to be flying, the fuel load, etc. We'll agree on a fuel figure. We'll pass that to our operations department. Then we will go out to the aircraft. That phase takes 1 hour. From reporting for duty 5:30 in the morning, by 6:30 we should be pushing back off stand. So 1 hour, meet up in the crew room. That bit takes about 10-15 minutes. Then we go out to the aircraft. We have minibuses that will take us out there. Then the cockpit stuff, the preparation. One pilot is going to do the walk round of the aircraft outside. The other one inside is going to get the aircraft ready for departure. Then you come together again in the aircraft. Then you'll go through many, many different checklists before you get airborne. This is all in the space of 1 hour. We're now doing a flight, doesn't matter where we're going, but let's say we're going down to the Canary Islands, typically about 4 hours down there. One of you is flying, one of you is pilot monitoring. When you get there, you will change over and just reverse the roles. Yeah. So you'll do usually pilot flying one sector, pilot monitoring the next. Yeah. You'll come back, a little bit of post-flight paperwork, which is all done now on the iPad. Doesn't take long, just a couple of minutes. Send that off, and then we walk out. Once all the passengers are off, the engineers will take over the aircraft. They then take responsibility for it. We leave it with the engineers, and we go back to the car park and go home. Sleep for 8-9 hours, and then 12 hours later we're back into work to do it again, perhaps if you're on another duty.
Is it fun being a pilot?
Yeah, I think it's fun. The flying part is fun, but that's not really the whole job. That's the fun element of what we do. There is also many there are many things that we have to renew, which are always running out. We have to do like our technical theory once a year with an exam for that. We have to do our medical. Every year we're assessed by a doctor and issued a medical certificate. We're tested in the simulator twice a year. We do a line check in the aircraft every 2 years where somebody observes everything that's going on the flight. So there's lots of things that are always the time is running out, and you know that it's going to be due for renewal soon. So that really is a very important part of the job, and that kind of harks back to what I was talking about earlier with the fact that you have to keep on top of all this stuff. It's not just knowledge that you learn once and then forget it. You just can't.
Do you have bad days?
You have days where you come back and you think, I could have done that better. I wish I'd done this. I could have done this element better. Always, I think, pilots are their own biggest critics. So you will come back and evaluate what you've done. Usually, when you're driving home, you think, I could have done that better. Yeah. So you do have bad days in that regards, that you could have done something better. But as I say, it's not the kind of job where you can just turn up and just think, I'm just winging it today. People don't do it. In your experience of flying all those aircraft, which one you think? Well, the one I'm flying now, the Boeing 737-800. It's a nice machine. It's like the transit van of the skies, Very reliable machine. It's not the latest Boeing 737, but it's tried and tested. It's used by many airlines around the world. Kenya Airways use it as well for their short-haul operations. It's a lovely place to be. There's really two big aircraft manufacturers for airliners, Airbus and Boeing. The guys that fly the Airbus all prefer the Airbus. But, I've never flown the Airbus, so I don't know. I just fly the Boeing. So, I like it.
And for people who are scared of turbulence, like I am.
You're scared of turbulence?
Yes.
Turbulence is uncomfortable, but it is not dangerous. Yeah. It's uncomfortable. We find it annoying. If we sit there, God. It's we try and avoid it. We'll try and climb to a higher level or even descend to a lower level to try and avoid it. We'll get what's called a ride report. We'll ask air traffic, have you got any ride reports? Let's say we're at flight level 360. We'll ask them, any ride reports at 380? And then they'll ask another aircraft ahead, what's it like there? And they'll say, it's smooth, smooth as silk, whatever. Okay, well, we'll climb up to flight level 380 to try and avoid it. So we do our best to avoid turbulence. But sometimes it's unavoidable. But it's not dangerous.
It's not dangerous.
No, it's just uncomfortable.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
So if people want to find more of your stories, where can they find you?
We're starting a new YouTube channel, Kenyan British Life. And if you're interested, you can find out some of the daily things that go on here in sunny Diani Beach, Kenya.
Okay.
Come and subscribe to our channel.
Cheers.
Link below.
Yeah.